Welcome back on a winning Monday. We are live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I am Spencer Linton alongside Jerem Jordan. Holy cow, what a second-half performance by BYU basketball. And the man who called it for ESPN, Roxy Bernstein.
The TV voice of the Cougars.
Joins us now. Yeah, you might as well, after last week, be the new TV voice of BYU basketball. Roxy, how are you feeling about that title?
Yeah, 3 straight BYU games.
And the women's game.
You know me. You know I love coming to BYU, so I'm not complaining about where they're sending me.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then the BYU-Utah game was a good game. Unfortunately, BYU lost. But you had a busy week here.
It was all Utah all the time last week. Started with the Saturday overtime game up in Salt Lake City against Utah. Then Tuesday with BYU in Boulder. Had the Utah Hockey Club Thursday at the Minnesota Wild, and then double dipping on Saturday, did the women's game in the afternoon of Utah BYU, and then, of course, the Saturday night end of my doubleheader on Saturday with that great second half. But that's 2 straight second halves where the BYU Cougars have been phenomenal.
Let's discuss specifically what impressed you the most from BYU, not just last week, but against Cincinnati. We'll start there. What was the single most impressive thing you saw on Saturday night at the Marriott Center?
The shot making, hands down. When you go 11 for 15 from 2, or from 3 rather, I don't care if you just make it with nobody on the floor. They were being defended. They were hitting tough shots, and it just seemed to get contagious. And it wasn't just, okay, Trevin Nell making a 3, or it wasn't just Richie Saunders. Cannon Catchings hit some 3s, which I think is a real positive sign for BYU. But that's a great defensive team in Cincinnati. You look at the numbers of what the Bearcats have done. Defensively and their efficiency on that end of the floor, they're one of the elite teams in the country defensively. And for BYU to do what they did to them, especially in the second half, that's incredible that the way they were able to operate offensively in that game.
It was wild, and it's back-to-back now. And the good news is, hey, BYU's playing better, especially in those second halves. Now BYU has 8 of the next 9 games against Quad 1 opponents. They don't have a Quad 1 win. There's certainly an opportunity tomorrow against Baylor. What have you seen from BYU that gives you hope that, hey, the Cougars could beat Baylor tomorrow night?
They're playing, Jerem, just with so much confidence right now, and they're connected. And I like this little subtle tweaks I've seen from Kevin Young and how they operate offensively, because I think it's confused some teams that they're not just doing this, they're doing that. They have so many other actions in their offense that really keeps teams off balance. And that's the tricky thing about playing BYU. But the confidence, the way they're operating right now and how connected they are, especially on the offensive end, I think they're playing good defense. But offensively, they're executing at a high level, and that's what gives me optimism if I'm a BYU fan about the way this team is playing coming into this challenging stretch.
Roxy Bernstein of ESPN is on BYU Sports Nation. Last Friday, we asked the question, okay, if BYU beats Cincinnati, which of course they did handily, will we all consider the Cougars to have turned a corner, per se, Roxy? And Jerem and I both kind of said, it's a good step in the right direction, but we probably need to see BYU win 3 games in a row, including a win over Baylor, before we're like, okay, they turned the corner. But because they won so convincingly against Cincinnati and are a 4-4 in conference play, do you feel like they turned the corner on Saturday night?
I think a big key for them, and I don't think it was just Saturday. I think that second half, guys, against Colorado was maybe the beginning of this team finding their game again after a tough stretch. But the other thing to me that says, okay, BYU's making progress, and this is a team that's on the right track right now, Yegor Demon looks healthier. I think the knee was bothering him for a while. And his numbers weren't great when he came back. But I thought in that Colorado game, he made a significant step forward. And I thought he was brilliant on Saturday night as well. And as we know, he doesn't have to score. He hit some shots, and he hit some 3s against Cincinnati. But the way he's able to pass and move the ball and find people, it just seems there's a comfort level with him on the floor. And there's a reason why he's projected to go in the lottery when the NBA drafts come spring.
We're hoping this season goes great for him and he somehow comes back with AJ, but I don't think it's going to happen. But we'll see. Richie Saunders, to the surprise of many, is the best player on the team. Richie Saunders has gone from glue guy, roll guy to he may go for 25. He went for 20-plus for the 4th time in league play. How have you seen his growth the last couple of years?
I've had a number of people, Jerem, tell me they think Richie Saunders could be an NBA player. And whether it's NBA executives or scouts, whether it's other Big 12 coaches, and look, Kevin Young with his background, he knows what an NBA player looks like. And he's optimistic about the future for Richie Saunders. The potential is there for him to be an NBA player. He gets that shot off extremely quick. And the one thing that he'll bring, which could be attractive to NBA teams, is the energy he plays with, night in, night out. When you're playing 82 games in the NBA, you're going to need energy people that can bring it. And that's what I believe Richie Saunders can provide, because he plays so hard and with the effort and energy every night. And that's also appealing to NBA teams. So, look, I'm not saying that he's definitely going there, but there are a lot of people who feel that the potential is there for Richie Saunders to go to the NBA.
Roxy Bernstein of ESPN is on BYU Sports Nation assessing his week of BYU basketball. Roxy, when you look at maybe some of the role players on this BYU team, we're talking about, the freshman input that happened from Cannon Catchings and Yegor Demian and how important they are. And Richie Saunders has been a clear star. But who do you feel like is, or maybe a few of those glue guys that are really going to be beneficial for BYU if they are indeed to finish in the top half of the Big 12?
Dawson Baker is an interesting guy to me because he provides a little spark off the bench, and he's so creative offensively with that little flip shot in the lane. What we saw 3 or 4 of those against Cincinnati, but to provide some bench scoring and the secondary scoring, because you've got the frontline guys, you've got your starters, but then Dawson Baker provides somewhat of a changeup. He can make the 3, which we've seen, but that pull-up jumper, that mid-range game that he's got, he is an X factor to me. And that's somebody that provides an angle for BYU that I don't think the other players do. I mean, Trevin Knell has tried to add it to his game, but that's not really what he does. And Richie Saunders has some of that too. But Dawson Baker is an interesting matchup problem, I think, for other teams because of the diversity in his game.
Basketball is 3 and shots at the rim unless your name's Richie Saunders. BYU likes everybody else. Just 3 at rim. Let's go. We did see one of the great moments in Marriott Center history as well after the game. It was you talking with Jake Retzloff, a melding of Jewish minds that we had not anticipated occurring at BYU this year. How was that conversation?
Well, first off, I never thought that the most popular guy on campus at BYU would be a Jewish guy.
I love it. I love it.
I can't tell you how many people after the game wanted to come up, meet Jake, take a picture with Jake. And look, we had about a 15, 20-minute first off, for months, maybe even longer, since last football season, I've been on Tom Holmoe. I need to meet Jake. I have to spend some time with Jake. And people made that happen on Saturday in between the 2 games. And first off, what a delightful, just awesome person he is. And he's so genuine and really is refreshing to see a player like that, what he does on the field, but how great he is off the field and how he embraces the community there. And everybody loves Jake. I mean, I remember in the second half of the women's game, they were chanting for him. And at halftime of the men's game, when the football team was honored for the Alamo Bowl, the whole rock was yelling, BYU, BYU. And it was just an awesome moment to be there. And I finally, guys, I got to show it to you. I got my T-shirt.
Oh, nice.
You got your BYU T-shirt? Let's go.
Very nice. That's
I got it. And I had to get it. Curtis, Tom Holmoe made that happen also. Tom makes dreams come true, clearly.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Roxy Bernstein bringing the heat with the BYU T-shirt unveiled on a live edition of BYUSN.
Did he get you some Manischewitz or what?
Hey, hooking you up with some other things?
Later.
Let me work on it slowly. I mean, he clearly has a line straight to the company. So when I need to go like shopping for the high holidays and the kosher foods, I know who to go to.
Absolutely.
Okay, Roxy, let me paint a hypothetical scenario for you. Let's say BYU beats Baylor, and for the first time in program history, they have a 3-game win streak in Big 12 play. Amazingly, that didn't happen last year. Even as good as BYU was last year at times, they never won 3 Big 12 games in a row. They have an opportunity to do so if they can beat Baylor. If that happens, are you ready to say BYU is tracking to be an NCAA tournament team?
I think they're already tracking in that direction. It certainly gives them a resume booster, Spence, if they're able to get that game tomorrow night against Baylor, who is playing really well right now. I saw Baylor when they were at their worst, the opening game of the year when they were buried by Gonzaga in the game in Spokane. But with Edgecombe coming along the way he has, I know Baylor's a little bit banged up, but this is a phenomenal league, as we know. And I think BYU has been trending in that direction anyways. Yeah, they had the little hiccup to start conference play, but now I think they're back on track, and they're going to be in that conversation. And they're going to have opportunities here over the next few weeks to really bolster the resume, because they need to have those quad 1 wins, as you talk about. But the competition now is getting a little fiercer for BYU here the next few weeks.
It feels like the top 5 in the league will probably stay that way by the end. I don't know how you feel. Houston, Iowa State, Arizona, Texas Tech, Kansas, to me, feel like they're the top 5. And then everyone else kind of playing for 6th. Baylor, BYU, West Virginia had a terrible week. They looked like they were a top 5 team. They lose at home to Arizona State. They go to Kansas State and lose, which was crazy. So, you don't know what you're going to get in this league. But if BYU could get as high as 6th to finish the season, I think that'd be a tremendous accomplishment. Yet, as I mentioned, 8 of the next 9 are quad 1s. For the NCAA tournament, how many quad 1s does BYU need to have to feel in a decent position to make the tournament?
That's a really good question, because you need to have, that's what the committee will really value, is not just who you played, but can you beat them? And if you're able to come up with some of those wins, let's say if BYU has 4 quad 1 wins, I think they're feeling pretty good about their situation. And those opportunities, you mentioned those teams. To me, guys, Houston is a legitimate Final Four team. And I thought that way before that miraculous comeback against Kansas on Saturday. I saw them back in December, and I'm like, this team has it. They're tough. They take on the persona of Kelvin Sampson. This is a really good basketball team. Same thing with Iowa State, who I'm going to see on Saturday when they play Kansas State in Ames. I still need to see more from Kansas. I'm not sure how good this Kansas team is, but this is an extremely strong league. The SEC is the best league in the country. Yep. I think that's pretty clear, but I think the Big 12 is right behind the SEC.
Roxy, we need to finish with this. Have you considered your permanent or at least vacation residence in Utah after
you got a townhome now here?
Fully investing in the Utah
right?
scene?
Now, should I get it? Where should I be in between Salt Lake City and Provo? Because with the Utah games,
you don't need to worry about those guys. We don't worry about them. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm a hockey fan, and I want to go watch the Utah hockey.
True. A Point of the Mountain, Lehigh, Draper, something like that should be good for you.
Somewhere out there.
Well, maybe I should get a place next to Chris Burgess, because now he just turns left out of his driveway instead of
I thought that was
right.
A keen observation. I think you said that during the Colorado game. I was like, he literally turns left. That's perfect.
Yeah, instead of turning right, because he was turning right before. And maybe at some point he'll turn right again, then he'll turn left again. That's just what he does.
We're not going to rule it out, but we'd like him to be here for a long time. Absolutely.
Roxy, great to catch up with you, man. We appreciate the work you did last week that featured BYU, and hope you survived the madness with hockey and basketball forthcoming. Let's do it again soon.
I'm going to have some BYU withdrawals the next couple of weeks. I'm not going to see it until the middle of February.
Just rock that BYU t-shirt. It'll all be okay. Thanks, Roxy.
See you guys.
The great Roxy Bernstein of ESPN.
Like Sean Farnham had the double ESPN college basketball hoodie and hat going on.
They rep the brand, and they have BYU swag.
Right? We just need Roxy to post a workout pic in the BYU
t-shirt?
Like Sean Farnham had him. I'm just here for the Cougar Tales, which is really funny.